What's up, guys? Today we're going to be ranking every programming language. Let's get started. First up here we have Swift. So if you don't know, Swift is Apple's programming language that I think a couple years back they really pushed this and were trying to, they made a phone and iPad app for it, and we're really trying to get people to use it instead of C++ or whatever people usually make apps in. But yeah, I think it's kind of mid. They went for a higher level language, more like Python or something, but I guess mostly just didn't catch on. So I'm going to put it in C tier. I think that's a fair place for it. I would say an S tier language is one that's really easy to get into and has a lot of applications. A tier is good and has, maybe a few different applications. B tier, if there's maybe one application for it, and C tier if it's just, kind of not a great language. And obviously F tier is for the worst of the worst. Bash scripting. So bash scripting is if you open up your terminal and you start scripting in that, and I'm not gonna lie, it's tough to do, and it's kind of not that useful. It's useful for a quick couple of lines of code if you gotta get something done really quick, but I think all in all it's really not great, and it's very difficult for beginners to get into. So I think I'm gonna have to F tier it, honestly. CSS. So CSS is just a design language for making your website look pretty or whatever. And honestly, it's pretty good for that. I'm gonna put it B tier because that's really the only place it's used. And it's decent for that. It's decent. C Sharp. Now C Sharp, I really like C Sharp. C Sharp is used with Unity if you're developing games over there, and it's just it's kind of like C++, but it's actually super beginner friendly. I think it's gonna have to be the first S tier because it's just it's super easy to get into. You don't have to worry about some of the more difficult constructs like pointers and worrying about that. It handles most of that stuff, and it just has a really nice fluid syntax. So it's S. It's S. C++, again, kind of similar, obviously both derived from C, but it's much harder to use, although it does give you more granularity. It's kind of second best at a lot of things, not the best in most areas, so I think I'm going to have to put it in the A tier. That's nice. We got one in each tier so far. This, I don't know if you guys know this, I didn't until this video, but this is actually the symbol for JSON. So, that's the one with all the brackets and quotes and whatnot. It's just a language for structuring data, and honestly, it's quite good for that, I would say. If I was creating a save file for games or something, and I just wanted to make sure that the data was easily accessible, readable, modifiable by an actual human, this is actually a great option for that. So I think it deserves an A tier. There's lots of applications for it. HTML. Once again, it's kind of a one-trick pony. It's just used on the web, and it's not great. I think it might be another B tier. Honestly, I might even put it C tier. It just they have been adding some new features, like this is HTML5 obviously, so like color pickers and stuff like that, but it's still only just used for that one purpose. So I think B tier is probably a fair place to put it. Java is actually pretty similar to C Sharp in terms of it's easy to pick up, easy to use. I would say it's a pretty good language, but of course there are a lot of complaints about Java, partly because it's taught to high schoolers and it's not always taught with best practices in mind, but it's not quite at the C Sharp level. I would say I'd say it's a solid A tier language, honestly. Rust. Now I haven't actually used Rust, so I might have to add another category here for languages that we can't really rank, because it wouldn't exactly be fair to rank these languages when I haven't really used them. So I'm just gonna create a new can't rank tier, and we're gonna put Rust in that tier. Oh, and next up we have this little YouTube subscribe button. So if you guys aren't subscribed yet, I would definitely recommend subscribing so you can watch more content just like this. And obviously, this is something we got to rank in the S tier because those of you who have subscribed, definitely S tier. JavaScript. Now, JavaScript is it's another one that's often used for the web, but it's definitely more versatile. You can use it on other applications as well, and you can get a lot more done with it. I think I'm going to put it A tier. It's somewhere between A tier and B tier, but I feel like it's above CSS and HTML, so I think I have to put it A tier. But if there were a B.5 tier, that's where I'd put it. Lua. So Lua is one of the more obscure languages on this list. It's not used in a whole lot of places. I know it's used for, I think, some data collection purposes, and it's the programming language you use if you want to make Roblox games, for if anyone's interested in that. So Lua is, it's not used a whole lot. It's kind of like a lamer version of Python, if I'm being honest. It's definitely a high-level language, but it doesn't get used as much, so it's not as easy to find resources, and for that reason, I think I'm going to have to put it in C or B tier. Maybe B tier is fair. So I think, hello, to the chat members that are saying hi. I think B tier is a fair place to put Lua. SQL. SQL is, that language where you like select something from something. It's for dealing with databases, moving data around in databases and stuff like that. Honestly, it's pretty solid at what it does, but it does only have really that one purpose, and it's a tiny language. There's not a whole lot to do in it. So I think B is probably a safe place to put it. It honestly could be a C tier. I'm not sure. Go. Go is another one I haven't really used, so I think I'm just gonna have to not rank that one. Put it in the can't rank tier. PHP, I've used this minimally, but it's pretty solid at its job, doing server type commands. It's a little unpopular, I would say. It's more fringe now. People are moving away from it to other languages, so it honestly, it might get C tiered. It's fairly easy to understand the syntax of. It's kind of like a cross between, I don't know, HTML and JavaScript or something like that. But yeah, honestly, people are moving away from it more. It might have to be C tiered. TypeScript, basically just JavaScript with an update. I think A tier as well for that. I think that's a fair place to put it. It's not better enough to warrant an S tier. And Ruby, another server-side language. I haven't used this one much either. I think I'm going to have to can't rank that as well. We're getting a few there. Python. Python's an obvious fan favorite for a lot of people. Some people complain that, it's slow to run, it's not as efficient, but that's not really what it's for. What it's for is, hey, I want to create a program right quick to do this, or to teach people programming. And I think for both of those purposes, teaching and just throwing together a really quick program in a more procedural programming way, not object-oriented, I think it's really good for that. Honestly, I think it's S tier at that. So yeah, if you're using it for that kind of stuff, I think it's definitely S tier. MATLAB. Now I haven't used MATLAB much, but it takes some heat whenever people use it, because it's difficult to use. I think it's gonna have to be C tier. Java is greater than Python. That's an interesting take. I'm not sure a lot of people are gonna agree with you there. I will say, I personally might prefer Java. I like the syntax of like a C# or a Java. Like, I like that kind of syntax. They're all derived from the same kind of, they have a common ancestor, if you will. So I would probably prefer it, because I do more object-oriented stuff, like Arduino programming with the different stuff there, or like game development programming, and it's definitely better at that. So if you are doing an object-oriented task, then yeah, Java is for sure better there. But Python does have that quick creation going for it. And we could S tier Java, potentially. I can see that. We can do that. Assembly, the last one on the list. Assembly it's another hard one. It might get C tiered as well. Partially because it's a hard one to use and to learn. and there's not a whole lot of reason to use it at this point in time. Obviously, you know, it's an OG programming language. There was a time when that was what you had to use, but it's not that viable in the current day. So I would C tier. I think a lot of people would F tier it. I don't think I'm going to F tier it. And honestly, Bash doesn't really deserve to be F tiered either. Most of these programming languages are viable programming languages. I think I'm going to pull Bash out. But yeah, assembly it's hard to use. And there's not a whole lot of use cases for it, so I'm gonna C tier it. But I like how this turned out pretty even. You know, sometimes with voting, I just like to make all of the different choices have the same amount of votes. It's very satisfying. If I were to put, I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna put PHP in can't rank just so it would even them out. But I am tempted.
A few moments later.
Okay, guys, if you're gonna let me do this, I'm gonna do it. Because I honestly haven't written PHP that much. I was like, let's look into server-side languages. Found PHP, wrote a few lines in PHP, did some testing. That was it. It was like once, maybe twice. So honestly, I think it's fair to put it in can't rank. So yeah, now we have a new modified version of the tier list, all evened out, 4 per category. I guess we can just remove the S tier, the F tier, since we didn't end up putting anything there. And it actually just works out perfectly. This is what all tier lists should look like. You should just, you know, tune the categories so that you have the same amount in each category if possible, just to make it more satisfying. It's satisfying for the streamer, it's satisfying for the viewer. It's all around just more satisfying. That's our goal. If you enjoyed this video, check out this one right here, and don't forget to join our live stream on Wednesdays at 9 p.m. Eastern.